Welcome to At the Table. Today we are talking about the 3 Enneagram, which is so exciting because we have one in our presence.
Here I am.
Do you like being a 3? What are your thoughts on it?
Initially, so I was originally mistyped as a 2, as many women can be. And so for a good while, I was like, okay, I'm a 2. And all of it was so new to me that I wasn't really like, this is wrong. But also I'm a 3 with a 2 wing, so there was definitely some overlap.
Yeah,
And
you're gonna have, it's like you're connected somehow.
Yeah, I distinctly remember one time you were home and we were talking and you were like, you know what, Skylar? I don't think you're a 2. You're like, I think you're a 3. And my initial reaction was like, oh, I don't want to be that.
Isn't that funny how we always feel that way about our own Enneagrams? We're like, ugh, that's not what I want to be.
You know, come to embrace it.
Yeah, I think we always struggle with whatever ours is because it's like you can see the side you don't like of yourself in there.
That was it. I like automatically saw like the like shadow side of it, and I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah. Which is funny because people want to be 3s.
People want to be 3s and people want to be 8s, which is interesting because that's what you and I are.
Yeah. I get misidentified as a 3 from other people.
I get misidentified as an 8.
Which I think is so funny.
That would happen to either of us because I feel like if you know us on a somewhat personal level, you would never mistype us, but
yeah. Well, I do get it from me because it goes back to people don't understand like intentions. So they look at like, oh, you like to like work after goals. You're, because I'm a very goal oriented person and they don't realize because 3s and 8s are mistyped a lot. So 3s can be misidentified as a 5, 1, or an 8. And
a 5?
Yes. Well, I think it's more of the instinctual stuff because not all 3s are outgoing. It's like a 3 with a 3 with a 4 might look more like a 5.
Look like a 5. Okay, I can.
They're going to be more pulled in. But when it comes to 8s, I do think it's really interesting because the 3s and 8s, both of them like to achieve. So they both, and they like to have like material things. And so as a result, people would misidentify them a lot and they don't understand the intentions are completely different. Like 3s want to be, which I think we've talked about this before, like 3s want to be seen with the things because it gives them that sense of pride of look how far I've come in life, look what I've done, while like an 8 is doing it for control of their environment and like look at how much independence I have now because I have all the stuff, no one can control me. Yeah. And that's that motivation. Unless you're like super inner circle, you're not going to see that.
No. And I would say like both 3s and 8s aren't super transparent with who their like authentic like true self is unless you're like an inner circle person.
Yes. Well, 3s like to pretend they're other people sometimes, which I thought was really interesting. And then 8s aren't going to be vulnerable enough to show you their soft side. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's so many crossovers. And also when it comes to material things, when people look at the outside, who else came up that I thought was really interesting that loves material things is a 7. And because they love all the shiny things. And so they also might look like a 3 sometimes because they will be like, look at all my stuff I have. Mm-hmm. Everyone, look, I have all this stuff. It's so shiny and pretty. And I'm just like, that's so funny.
7s are also hard workers.
Yeah. So, they're higher energy people. So they're like all over the place and doing a lot of things. So it can, But what was the most interesting was who would perceive themselves as 3s are 9s.
No.
We'll get to this, guys. We're going to get to this. It's self-perception. Because remember, 9s struggle the most with knowing who they are. Like true, so they just will be like chameleons of the Enneagram and they're going to take on who's around them. And I think they idolize 3s.
I was going to say,
so they take on those traits.
Loving 3s.
Yeah. So they idolize them. So they take on their traits. And so it's like self-misidentification, not like other misidentification. So they self-misidentify as a 3.
So 9s do go. So like the 3-6-9, they're an interesting because 3-6-9 is all connected. And
it's like own triangle.
Its own integration, disintegration. So talking about the 9 seeing themselves as 3, that's what they are like when they're very healthy.
Yes, but that's I think it's just interesting because when you do meet a 9, which I assume most people like average, like they do not look like 3s at all, but it's like they perceive themselves as 3s.
Megan and I have lots of 9s in our lives, so
Yes.
we also see all
There's
sides
a lot
of
of
9s.
Who do you think we have least in our lives? I think 4s.
For sure 4s, but I think 4s are rare.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the only 5 I really know is my husband. And probably my father-in-law.
I have patients that are 5s. I've met some other doctors that were 5s, just because of the field. It's going to draw them in. But they always have such unique paths on how they like operate. Like one person who was a 5 in our field, like made his own EHR system before technology was big. He was like, yeah, sure, I like it this way. I know. He didn't even sell it or anything. He probably could have done something with it. He just loves like.
You should have 100% sold it.
It was just like really interesting. Like that was a 5.
Niche.
It was just yeah. He's like, I just built this way because this is and there's a lot of studying and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know a lot of 4s.
No. I can't think of any 4s off the top of my head.
I know
that
one.
I know personally.
So one, and she is so talented. So she did artwork, and then the school hired her to do some for like the faculty lounge area. And then all our paintings in our office are done by her.
Oh,
and then
obviously I've seen the art.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I've come across them, but in my inner circle, like intimately, no, I don't have.
Yeah,
any.
I think Frank likes 4s, so he's always like, this person's interesting.
That's his healthy.
Yeah, that would make
integration.
sense. But let's get on. What actually is the motivation of 3s? Who are they? What do they want? And ultimately, they really want to feel worthwhile and desirable.
I would say probably on the surface level, people would say, 3s are really just seeking success. But I think on a deeper level, 3s are seeking to feel worthy. Mm-hmm. And the success is the mode for that feeling of worthiness. Like you were saying earlier, like that the accolades or whatever, that is what gives 3s that feeling.
Yeah, it's like a driving force, because I feel like 3s often feel like if they can achieve whatever is deemed important, they can get the love and not love like a 2, but like they get the worthiness of, hey, we're so glad you're here. We see value in you. Mm-hmm. And so you're accepted because you are valuable. And so I do think it's important to note, because when we talk about success, especially here in America, everyone's going to be like money, career. It actually is whatever in their personal culture, including family culture, so not just like country culture, that is put on them as successful, often from like they're shown this from a really young age. So yes, monetary and like accolades are big, but you might see it where it's like in sports, you need to really achieve well in sports. You also might see it where, like, if it's a religious family, serving at a high capacity and being seen serving at a high capacity. You're also going to see like academics could come up for some families if that's where they put value. So they're going to be like, you better get the best grades, and they're going to get great grades. And they're going to love getting the awards for it too. Like, they do want people to see them getting these accolades, so it's not hidden where they're just like, oh, I'm quietly working hard. They want you to see it, so you see the value in them. So they are loudly performing and going after this, and they want to have, like, other things could be, some families could put like fame, like wanting to be fame. I think there's a lot of 3s in Hollywood, or being a public figure, like politicians, and then also like just being like well known in your community.
Yeah. So 3s are still part of the feeling triad. So 2, 3, 4. So it's the heart. So they're looking for love, and the way they're seeking it is through those actions. So where a 2 was more motivated to be like, do you love me? Like, I need to feel just loved
and be of service to other people.
Yes. 3s, I mean, I think we like to serve other people, but that's not our main motivation. Mm-hmm. It's more like, did you see what I did? Do you love me for that?
Yes. Or you should love me because look at all I did. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, I think like about 3s, they're also very inspiring people, because in other 3s we know, we've literally done this too, and I'm sure people have done this to you, where it's like, how do they do that? How do they do it all? How do they how are they able, like, people put them on a pedestal, and I think threes love it. But they will develop, like, some of them will develop discipline, or at least outward, so people can see in front of other people, because they want people to perceive them in that way, and they love it. And but also, like, in return, like, us other folks look at threes and are like, wow, they're doing something big, and we're impressed, and it often inspires other people to do better. Like, so those around them tend to be like, oh, I'm inspired, I'm gonna do better because the three in my life is also doing such great things. So they're very inspiring people.
Yeah. And when they're healthy, they do like to help other people meet their goals and achieve. So it's not just like a selfish, just me. It's I want to help other people too. Very famous three that will help you kind of see a picture of like a three from the outside is Taylor Swift.
Oh my God, she's such a three. Yeah.
Very three.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of threes out there.
I think there's a lot of famous threes.
Yeah, I think she's a great example though, because, you know, she
has a persona.
Mm-hmm.
Very
she loves performing.
Intentional. Mm-hmm. Loves performing.
One of the most successful pop stars in all of history.
Super successful. She wants to be seen in a certain way though, and her PR team is on it because they like protect her brand.
She's very curated.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think threes can be. I think that's getting behind it, is like, is the stuff you're doing really who you are?
Yeah. So a huge obstacle for threes is to be their most authentic self.
Yeah, it was interesting studying threes, because I did not even realize, because I also have in history, like, idolized threes. Like, sometimes I'll just see some of the stuff people are doing and I'll be like, how do they have that even time for all of that? I'm very amazed by it. And more like this, just the time discipline is probably the thing that I'm most like, wow. Because I get distracted by, you know, like, Frank's like, let's hang out. I'm like, okay. You got it, bud. Let's hang out. So, but they don't really know themselves very well, which is interesting, because I think threes, sixes, and nines all have this problem of a disconnection from self and not even knowing their own opinions, which I found fascinating about threes. Like, do you struggle, not to, like, you don't want to share personal things, by the way, you don't have to, but do you struggle with, like, it's not decision making, but it's like knowing what you like?
I think now, with like doing all the self work, I'm very confident in what I like and what I don't like. I can totally see growing up. So going to like the childhood background of threes. Threes typically have one person, they're like nurturer, usually the mother, that they're seeking this like love from. So I can totally see, like, when I was growing up, like, what my mom liked, I liked. You know what I mean? I was like into it. And in reflection, like, obviously doing all this stuff, I'm like thinking about my childhood. I'm like, wow, what did stuff like this pop up? And my brother and I are very, very different people. Have you ever met my brother? Probably very briefly.
Yes, I did. I think at like your wedding in other place. Yeah,
maybe
he was very withdrawn.
Shower.
I think I went and like introduced myself, and he was like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay."
He's a 9. He and I are 15 months apart, so we are very close in age, and he's older than me. And he was a very quiet child, gentle, like, sensitive, and I was pretty bombastic and like insane and strong-willed and like kind of a jerk sometimes. So
I don't know why it's a surprise you have a strong-willed child then.
It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. But actually, this is full circle with my own kid. I will tie it all together. I very distinctly remember thinking, wow, my parents love Jed more, because I got in trouble more. Because I was more defiant. So looking back, I'm like, wow, my brother, very intelligent. So I was like, good grades, they like it. I was an honor student. He was great at sports. He was very athletic. And I was like, let's do it. So actually, funny enough, we both did volleyball and we both did track. Just looking back, I'm like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, if you had followed in the footsteps like your brother, you were like
so weird. But you know what I loved? I was actually better at all of those things than him. He had more natural talent and is smarter than me, I think. But I always performed better than him because I worked harder. Yeah.
really does outbeat natural talent.
The only thing is, and to this day, he got most athletic and I did not get most athletic as a
Oh my
sport kid.
gosh. Are
All
you
the
still
Kobakis.
upset? See, that's really funny. You're still holding on to that.
So full circle. Me, I was talking to my husband because our child is 3 and very strong-willed, like to a point where you're like, is this possible for a toddler? And I said to him, because I reached out, I was like, if anyone has advice for dealing with a strong-willed child, literally no one had any advice. But
Was your
like,
mom?
she'd probably be like, smack him. But everyone was like, tell me what you find out. And I was like, I got nothing for you. But my husband and I were on a walk with our toddler. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to have to hold our boundaries really strong. But I think what's most important is we let him know that we love you for just who you are. Because I felt less loved because I was problematic. So I think that's like where this like came up. I was like, okay, like I'm not loved for these qualities, so I have to adopt this persona.
I do think we have to note, though, is that your childhood patterns aren't the cause. I did think, because, we've talked about this a lot, your parents didn't cause you to be a 3. You probably were in the situations you sort of just are. We are who we are. Like, you're still like born with this personality, and then your circumstances bring it out. But it is really easy, because I'll do this in my childhood, too. I'll be like, I was independent early, so I had to, that's why I'm an 8, but it's like not really. It's but it is so fascinating to see it in childhood. What if he is a 3 too?
He may be.
You never know.
I don't
because
know.
they say 7s. It's going to depend, because they have a whole thing on like why people want success, because like 3, 7s, and 8s are probably the most loud about it. And like the 3s want it, or sorry, the 7s want it because they want to buy stuff. They love buying things. So they're like, yeah, so it's like, how much stuff can they buy? That's why they want success. Well, 8s are going to be power, independence, and then 3s are for the affirmations and attention. So it's so interesting how your childhood like tracks with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's only in reflection recently that I'm like, wow, so obvious.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense. I've had this experience for a long time.
But you know what?
Your parents, for the note, though, also, your parents are very loving and like adore you.
I think my parents 100%, even to this day, love us totally equally, don't play favorites at all. I was just a more stubborn child, so they had to punish me more, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you're little, you're like, I'm the only one getting in trouble.
Yeah. Why isn't anyone else having this problem? What were you going to say, though? I'm sorry.
Oh, about like we're born into this world with a certain personality. I think you're right. Like all of our parents do their best, but they have their own deficiencies. So like the deficiencies that would harm or like be more traumatic to like a 5 or a 4 probably happened to us too, but they weren't our like pain points.
Yeah. So you wouldn't notice it.
Yeah.
110%. That's so true. One of the things, going back to the 3s not being in tune with themselves, because what 3s do is have a performative life, and then they have their actual life. And something I found really interesting is how many 3s will follow a life path of what's expected of them. So it goes back to like whatever was told, this is what's going to make you successful. They will sort of adopt that life, whether or not they actually like it. And they probably don't even realize they like it until they start to heal and are older. And they're like, is this really the path I even want to be on? And I thought that was really interesting.
A huge issue for 3s, especially because we are good at driving and getting the success. So you can go really far in a career and then be like, I don't even care about this. And then you kind of have this like crisis, like, well, now I put in all this time, all this effort. I have all these like baby degrees, and this isn't really what I want to do. Like, shoot, what am I supposed to do? I think threes have a crisis of, yes, we want worthiness, but we also are really seeking purpose. When our eyes are open to like our true inner needs, that's actually something I think a lot about. Like, what is my purpose? Am I moving towards my purpose?
You do bring up purpose a lot.
Yeah, because I think for a long time it wasn't so much focus on, am I driving this forward because it's truly like what I feel like is like my desire, or is it just because like around me
Yeah, people are
that's
like,
what's seen like that I should do to be successful?
yeah, that is interesting. But let's go into to go deeper into the threes, because someone might be a three and be like, maybe I don't do that, but you might, you just don't realize it. So a three, I think you're a three with a two wing. We know that.
Yeah.
Which is the charmer. And these are the people, they're going to be more emotional. And I feel like when I say emotional, I always have to be like, it's not a bad thing. They're going to be in tune with their feelings. They're going to like have big feelings. They're also like really outgoing and I feel like vivacious about life. Like I feel like threes with twos love life. They're excited about it.
I think they're fun.
Yeah,
They're fun
yeah. They
people.
show up and like you love having them around. They also tend to have like good self-esteem. They look very like pulled together all the time, often. And they really do want others to admire them, so they play that role. So oftentimes, like for like, this is more like an average. Of course, when you get healthier, you're not going to do these things, but for like the average two with a three, they're going to play a very public role, and you are going to notice it, but you're probably not going to know the real them until you get to know them on a deeper, closer level, because they can like turn on and off, which I find really interesting. Because I've seen people do this, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like it's like this is who they are with their family, and then it's like time to perform, and it's literally like whether it's figuratively or like really, they will literally be like, I'm walking on stage, and then it switches performing.
Yeah. I will say every type can do this. Like you're going to act differently with your like partner than you will with like if you're a teacher with your classroom. But I think threes do it to like an exaggerated level. Whereas like you could even see like subgroups of them like with their friends. Like I very much like for me personally, like I have high school girlfriends that are like a very specific type of girl, and then I have like college friends and Kyra friends and like friends from St. Louis, you know what I mean? And like if you were to put them all in a room, you would be like, these people don't go together.
Actually, I've heard this about threes. They don't mesh their circle. They're like, they're the spoke, and then or wait, they're the center of the wheel and the spokes come out.
Yeah.
And they can all look different because they'll step into each sort of different room and look different depending on what the people need. So they have a hard time if they were to invite, like a wedding might be overwhelming because it's like, how do I perform when everybody's in a room together and they don't know how to perform?
Inviting all of my friends for like my wedding and my baby shower was stressful for me because I was like, I don't know how this is gonna happen.
Which I'm pretty sure they all get along.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
I'm not friends with like jerks, so everyone's like lovely people. But
it's just like interesting because I've read this before on threes. I'm glad you like jogged my memory on that because it is like I've always found that fascinating about how they keep everybody separate because they become separate people in front of them.
Which is weird. Which is like not something that like I love about myself, but I feel like it's just what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good or bad thing. I think it's more just a thing that happens.
I think what it is I want people to see me as an authentic person. And if you're like, wow, she acts a little differently with this friend than she does with me, to me it might feel like they see me as like a phony.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because you're ultimately, at the same time, like the reason you act different with each people would be because you know what their values are, and so you're going to have those values shown so they see you as impressive. So if like one group of friends values like motherhood, you are going to showcase motherhood, and if another one valued career, you are going to showcase career.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
This group is also very competitive. But I don't think, apparently, they're not openly competitive. Like, eights are openly competitive. Like, I tell people I'm competing.
Oh, no. We're going to pretend like we're really good sports.
Yeah. Two, I think that's Frank does that sometimes. I mean, he has a 3-wing, where it's like, yeah, we're all in this together. And you guys are not. You're secretly like, I will be number one. Like at CrossFit, are you like secretly like seeing where you fall?
I keep tabs. I think now,
Like you're aware of how you did in every workout.
Totally aware.
Yeah.
But I'm like consciously like, I'm more focused on like healing my hormones in my body than I'm like, I'm not going to hurt
bigger
myself.
purpose. Yeah.
But I do distinctly remember in high school for track, like getting like qualifying for states. When I did qualify, or like the thing right before states, the girl that I was competing with, we were both hitting PRs, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get first. And she beat me by, I'm not even kidding you, like half an inch. And I was like, damn. But I still gave her a hug at the end.
Yeah,
but I'm still like salty about it.
Yeah, like you're gonna show good grace publicly because that's what's expected. But like you have this a bigger, much bigger competitive side than people will see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's also understanding like where it comes from, because like other Enneagrams, like I'm very competitive, but it's not really necessarily for other people. It's just because I like to dominate, but it's not really about them as much, versus like yours is actually also about you knowing where you stand in the hierarchy of things. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting like when you are a competitive thing, because I've always heard things not Enneagram based, but it's like how negative it is, and or it's like an insecurity. But I feel like people don't yeah, I've also
like competitiveness is like a healthy, obviously it can become unhealthy.
Yeah, I like that we like feel this way for sure because we're competitive. We're like,
of course it's
fine.
good.
That's my whole point. I remember even in school, people would be like, "Why are you competitive?" And I'm like, "I'm not like, it's not really about you. It's really about that I know where I stand for comfort of my own preservation." Mm-hmm. And like, people cannot grasp that. And I feel like with threes too, the competitiveness, even if they realize it or not, because I think men threes are allowed to be shown more competitive than female threes. Yeah. But I think people don't even understand that it is like for threes competitiveness, it also is a way, like you're not just tracking where you fall, you're tracking like your value. Yeah, because you want to be seen as being great, because that's where you're going to feel worthy. And so competitiveness really is never about the other people you're competing against. People always say personal, especially as a female. Yourself. Yeah, it's really about like what you want out of life and what you're trying to, and there's good and bad on it. But I always find it just an interesting topic with the way it's perceived, especially from women.
I've never really thought of that before.
Well, because I'm openly competitive versus covertly, I feel like I've gotten different responses in life.
Well, I think there are some things that are appropriate to be competitive with, and some things that are like inappropriate. You know what I mean? Like, so for example, like physical competitions. Obviously, those are meant to be competitive. Even like within a workplace, like if you're in sales, I think it's good. You can be competitive with your coworkers because it drives people forward. Things that like we don't want to be competitive with, like motherhood, like or like like relationships. That's never a place to be competitive.
But I feel like those are hard also to. There's no marker on that, so like, what are you tracking?
Oh, I think people do it. How many kids they have,
People are tracking how many kids they have? Have you had this where you're like, well, I have 5?
I think it's low-key, a weird flex now, for sure.
Damn, I didn't even know that existed. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that was a thing. See, I'm not up on all of that, but thank God. I feel really stressed about that.
I mean, like, like that might be a me thing too. But you never know.
Yeah. Some examples, though, of the threes with twos are Bill Clinton. Taylor Swift definitely is. You know who is a 4 probably is Harry Styles. I know that's such a random one. But
David Bowie.
Yeah, those are 4s.
Prince, probably.
He might be a 5.
You think?
Yeah.
What do you think Kanye West is?
Psycho.
Unwell.
He might be, I think he could be a 3. Let's look it up because he's interesting. I'm gonna see what the internet says.
Shania Twain, I love her.
I love her too, but she's definitely Enneagram. What if he's like a 5? He's a 4.
I was
There
gonna
we
say.
go.
I was gonna say.
Or
a
some people
4
say
for
3 with a
Kanye.
4. 3 with a 4 is another option. But those are one of the two. He's either a 4 with a 3 or a 3 with a 4. Interesting. Well, he has a 3 somewhere in there. But let's go into 3 with a 4 wing is the professional. A lot of their self-esteem comes from their career and work. So they are going to find a lot of value in what they achieve professionally. This group is not as outgoing, and this is where you might see an introverted 3 if you were to see one. This would be the
I
case
always
or
feel
not.
like these 3s with 4s are a little more creative.
Maybe.
Like they have a different feel to them.
I think, see, the thing is, I think it's the 3 with the 2 is what everybody, like, you would love this,
feel like it's the most
idolizes as a
common.
3. Well, I think it's also the one that we will be like, wow, look at them go. So we're idolizing this group a lot more because they're so out there with what they're doing. While this other group can be very like charming, but they're also going to be very diplomatic, and they can be very serious and task oriented. So that's why the careers, like, they're going to be very focused on getting certain tasks done, checklist, things along those lines. But what's interesting is someone who's like average or below average in this is going to have a lot of ambition, but also insecurity in here. But they also, so they have a lot of internal pressure. That's what I'm going to say. The 3 with the 4 can be very pretentious and arrogant. But at the same time, they have a lot of like self-consciousness. Like they're very aware of how people are perceiving them at every moment.
3s are so good at reading a room.
Yeah.
And
This group can be very confusing to themselves. Because they
themselves.
because they can be like confident and insecure at the exact same time. Like, I'm out here, I'm doing this really amazing thing, I'm performing, but also I have this severe self-doubt underneath of it.
Yeah. A lot of performance. You know, I think 3s can feel really exhausted at the end of the day because they're just like drained from putting on either a show, a face, a performance, and then they're like, now I can relax.
Yeah. That's gotta, yeah. I do think about some of those like 3s that we know that are doing like really big things. Like
Tony Robbins.
He would be a great example. I'm always curious about behind the scenes, like, which maybe you have more insight, but like, I just wonder, like, when he comes home, does he continue to perform for his family?
Absolutely not.
Or does he just like crash? He's like, yo, babe, what's up? Let's have dinner, watch a TV show, and hang out.
3s will only show like their anxieties, their self-doubt, any of that to like their closest inner circle.
Yeah.
But to the world, they're going to look completely pulled together, have it all like going on.
Tony Robbins is such a good example. He's a 3 with a 2.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. But then to go deeper, if you're like, well, I don't know if I fit all these, but the people say I'm a 3 or I test as a 3. The next thing that make all 3s look different is that the variations and the instincts. So starting with like I'm curious on what instinct you think you are, by the way. So starting with the self-preservation, these also are ones that work really hard and are actually liking security and stability. So they relate to like 6s, which, by the way, on a side note, that's why we thought your husband was a 6. Remember, we were like, why do we ever think he was a 6? It's the security part.
Security, yeah.
Yeah. They also like to have like a surplus of material things, whether it's like finances, maybe even houses, or like even, opportunities. A lot of their security does come from things, whether it's like a home, money, assets, a company that they've built. And they also are very efficient people. So self-preserving ones are very detail oriented. They're very much, this is how it is. They'll create systems and procedures in their lives. It's going to help them with that performance too. But they like stability a lot. They also like rewards that they can touch. They want tangible things, which is why the money makes sense for this group. They also they're probably the most focused on careers than anyone else when it comes to like the 3s. If you're like one of the variants, you are so career oriented, the self-preserving is going to be the most career oriented. They also, though, because of that, struggle the most with relationships. And by the way, like 3s are very relationship oriented, despite everything. Like, I feel like sometimes we're like, they're here for things, things, but like they're relationship oriented because all those things that they might be chasing or the accolades or whatnot is all because they want people to perceive them in a really specific way. So, and in return, will love them. And so they want to feel worthy to those that they love. So a lot of threes are very social beings. They just, I think sometimes are interesting with inner circles because they have to be more selective on who they let in to see behind the scenes.
I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting. This one struggles with relationships because every three I know has so many people around them all the time. You know, they always make friends everywhere. They tend to have like groups.
Yeah, but like deep relationships, I would think it'd be hard
Yeah.
to show like your vulnerable true self.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you need to do that for like a good relationship at least.
That is true. Well, going to the social instinct of a three, this is the group. They want the most recognition publicly. Mm-hmm. So
They're
socials,
looking for status.
yes, and they want the whole group. They want like groups of people to recognize them. You know, like if you're in a group, they want like if you're in CrossFit, you want all of CrossFit to know who you are and like accept you for your greatness. Yeah, this is also interesting that they're going to care. I thought this is weird. Okay. They want to care about like pedigree and credentials. So like, do you have these things? I think these are going to be the ones that you see where people are like, what bag are you carrying? What clothes are you wearing? What kind of shoes do you have on? They're going to notice these things. They're also the networkers. I feel like I know a lot of social threes, but they notice all these things on people, and that actually helps them size up who they need to become because they'll walk in and be like, okay, this is a room that has these kind of people in it. I can tell from the watches they're wearing, the bags they're carrying, how they do their hair, all that kind of stuff. It can be identified. And then they also tend to have a lot of anxiety as well because now you're constantly performing and having to do like social climbing.
Yeah. And like we had said earlier, like you had mentioned like more material things like for status, but it could also be like degrees. Oh, you have a master's, you have a PhD, you have your doctorate, you know? So like
Yes.
that kind of status too could also be very applicable to the social three.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I wonder if that one's going to be more for the self-preserving three. But yeah, I guess it would be so for accolade. You're going to see it in both, but for accolades, yes, I guess. It depends on what group you're in. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess if you're in like an academic group, what you have degree-wise is going to matter more.
Like
I always
how many,
feel like
even in the chiropractic world, how many, I'm sure you know the people that have, of course, DC after their name,
And
but
then
then they
it's
have like
like
20 other letters as well.
Yeah, you're right. That's going to be more for like you to know that they're important.
And they put it there.
They do. They make sure you know. They're also big networkers. I feel like real estate agents fall into social threes. Because they're always networking, like people who are really good, not just because you're in real estate, you're really good at real estate, like the top people, because it really is about networking people. And yes, knowing people, but more importantly, people knowing you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the highest things is you want people to know who you are. And that's where it can go bad is the desperation for like attention can also lead to some dishonesty, and getting in situations they might not be qualified for.
Social media for a three is like their best friend and their worst enemy.
Yeah, I feel like threes are amazing at social media, but also like probably have the highest anxiety with it.
Yeah.
We're
good at curating and presenting, but then we're fakes.
You have an eye for like what's trendy and beautiful. I always say that. So the sexual instincts, they want to be desired. I feel like that's always with every sexual instinct.
Just in a different shade of it.
But I think they're more likely to want approval from their close friends or people like that they would want more intimate relationships. This group always tends to be like a smaller group around them. But they will cultivate their personalities for the people that they want interested in them, whether it's friends or relationships. So it's not necessarily as big of like this whole network knowing me, but it's like if I deem a person important, I want them to know me and view me on a pedestal.
Yeah, they want to be like the shiny object, like the trophy wife or like the idol. For sure.
Yes. So you're gonna see this more like the movie star. Like they want people to look at them in this like. I think it's an unattainable.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic
it's
way.
got to be so stressful. They also really have a hard time holding on to relationships, because how do you have a relationship with someone you're like, I want this
This is
person as my
Taylor Swift.
partner. I'm going to put them on a pedestal. I want my partner also to put me on a pedestal. But if you're on a pedestal, you have nobody around you. So
Yeah.
it causes a lot of issues. They can reject a lot of people or feel very rejected. And sometimes they can also like become really unhealthy and, put themselves in positions where they might like pose in a certain way. If they're like a celebrity that they might not fit within their values, but they're doing it because they're just so desperate for this like certain kind of attention. But what I thought is interesting is that as threes grow and mature, they will get to almost every three will get to a point where they're like watching themselves perform. It's like it's like they have a wake up where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm performing.
I'm doing
right
it
now.
again.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting. For threes, especially like, I'm always curious on like what point. I want to like ask every, like, what point do you realize you're performing? Do you have an answer to that? Do you like know?
I don't think it became obvious to me until I started learning about it, especially like the shadow side of myself.
Like, do you
Like,
recognize
do you
it
remember?
now?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, do you remember when we went to our little like office retreat in Florida?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I did that
Shadow self?
the shadow self workshop
Yeah.
with us. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah, that one was one that you were just like, ooh, I see this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like after that, I was like, wow, I really
Ah,
see it.
wow. How funny the things that like when you're like in charge of teaching and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, like, for healthy threes, as they can identify it, can they stop like performing? No.
I can't.
No. Yeah.
I feel, but also I feel like that's a comfort thing. Like, I have to be really comfortable with you to
It
not
protects
do
you,
that.
like, yeah, so it's like a protection thing. Yeah, so threes do struggle with like deceit, but it's interesting because they are deceiving the world because of their performance.
So, yeah, so this is what we're going back to, like, each type has their own, like, passion or capital sin. For threes, I would say it's like vanity.
It is, so it's vain. It is vanity, but they call it why you're deceiving. So all of them have like a deception kind of thing. Or I don't know, twos deceive themselves, while threes are deceiving others for the sake of vanity.
Yeah, so, and it's not like vanity. I feel like all threes have some level of vanity where they want to be perceived in a certain light. And you could see that in how they dress, how they talk, how they present themselves. And it's not like, not everyone's going to dress up like a supermodel. Like, a three could very much look like we know a three well who's like a casual bro, but that is his look. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, but if he's idolized by the bros
Idolized by the bros.
on a
But
pedestal.
But like vanity wise, like it's not like I'm going to dress in a tie and a suit. This is my image. And I'm always going to perceive, like, have this image to, like, for people to perceive me. So it can look very, very different. Threes can all have this different image they present.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, for them, consistent along the way. But yeah, deceit is like the follow-up to the vanity.
So they're deceiving the world, ultimately. That's okay, guys. By the way, we have to look at one of the whole things is looking at these patterns. So this really isn't just actions, because remember, like, twos deceive too. They go out and they're like putting on a performance as well, but they're doing it for love, while threes are doing it to be idolized and for you to view them in a certain way. But let's look at like, if we look at, I think it's easy to identify and like understand patterns. I always like looking at the stress side of things, because then you're like, okay, how do I do better? So we'll start with looking at when stress comes in and you go to your maybe not best self. A three is going to go to a 9, which is interesting because 9s are like,
Here's the picture again.
yeah, 9s are apathetic. So 9s shut down. And so as a result, threes actually like disengage from their drive of
So I think threes are all about doing, right?
They're
And then
action-oriented people.
when you're unhealthy, when you move towards the 9, 9s are about being. So instead of doing, you kind of put up like, or like just like disassociate, and you might be going through the motions like at work if you're like come to this realization like what's the point of this work, it's not doing anything for me, like it's not moving forward. I'll show up, I'll do my work, but I'm just going to do the bare minimum and go home. So it's kind of like that dissociation where you're just being there, you're not like the doing part.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely shows up when, like, we talk about purpose. If they feel off purpose, you see this shutdown where they're just like not engaged.
This has happened to me.
Yeah. What do you do about it?
In Wichita. I mean, I still went to work and I was really good at work. And then I quit.
Then you quit. Well, that's probably for the best. Because one of the things about it is because they look really weird in this state because, like, they don't respond to things. Like usually a 3 is very task oriented. So, like, if you're having this in your life and you're just like, well, I don't really, I have this to-do list, but you don't do it, or you don't even bother looking at it, and you're really decisive, and then suddenly it's like, well, I can't really make a decision right now. And so when you go into that 9, often you are, I don't know, I feel like it looks like falling apart.
Yeah.
It also can happen if someone feels like a 3 feels like they hit a failure, because these are not good at dealing with failure. I don't think you guys have enough to have that experience of like resiliency with it and like the bounce back. I think 3s really struggle if they are not the top. I think we see a big breakdown into a 9 where you're just like there.
Well, you know what we do is we avoid anything we're bad at. So the opportunity for failure is low.
Yes. That makes sense why if you guys are go into a 9, or if you do fail, you go into a 9. Because also, this is more like retreating also in your own brain where you don't like reality, so you sort of make up fantasies. And this is like the bad side. Now, they do say if it's like really bad, like you're not able to like cope at all, you can become very like self-conscious, low self-esteem, and also have a fear of being seen, which is so funny because you guys want to be seen, but when you're really bad or you're failing or you've hit a failure, because you're not ever going to like long-term fail 3s, don't worry. 3s, what you guys have built in is like resiliency. Now, resiliency is the word. You guys always have like this ability to make things happen if you want to. So if you do, just avoid going into the spot. They start to like fear success, maybe find success meaningless, redefine it. So it can be a really dark spot to be, because it's like, instead of being like, I'm going to do whatever to get like to, my best self, to achieve, they're going to just be like shut down. What's the point? Not being able to make decisions, don't want people to see them or recognize them because it's like, how embarrassing. If you get to that point, you probably need therapy to work through some things, and that's okay. You might have some emptiness and like lack of connection with self. You might lie more. I think this is if you're in this spot and you find yourself going to like networking events and you're like absolutely just like lying outright about stuff and you're achieving to not be perceived a certain way. And they can have severe jealousy here as well.
I feel like I had touches of that postpartum with my son. Yeah. I definitely felt disconnected. I did not want anyone to see me. I was like, because I felt like I didn't have, actually what was really hard for me postpartum is what I got my worth out of all of my life was the achievements, which typically comes from some type of career or work or school. And then I was like, well, I don't have that. I don't know what's going to make me a worthy person now. I feel like I'm just like,
yeah. Well, even with that, like, I feel like I'm in your inner circle. I don't even feel like I realized how bad postpartum was for you.
Oh my gosh, I hit it.
Until literally you were out of it. And you were like, that was really hard. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean? And then you start describing it. I was like, holy shit, you were in a dark spot. You probably needed more people around you. It was like not wanting to be seen in this spot that was really hard.
I didn't want anyone to see. The only people that knew were my husband, obviously, and my mom, because she was there. She was physically there for a lot of it. If she wasn't there, though, I wouldn't even know.
That's hard. I'm sorry you went through that.
So I think 3s can isolate themselves because of that.
Well, 9s can isolate sometimes too. because they just are. They won't like seek out extra stuff.
Yeah.
But if you are this, if you're like looking, I remember looking at this pattern, if you're looking at this pattern, you're like, well, I might be a stressed out 3. What are you going to do? Well, one, or to avoid this, you guys really need, 8s and 1s this also fall into, you need breaks. All right. You cannot constantly be chasing a goal. You need to like schedule in time to just like go away, vacation, reset, just have some time to be your authentic self and not be performing.
I feel like 3s do really well with like cyclic. So you have a period of hard drive, and then a rest, and then you ramp up again.
Yeah, that's a great schedule to have. If you're constantly having to be ramped up, you're going to crash, which would make sense why it goes into a 9. And then you need to make sure you have an inner circle. So if you don't, and you've been hiding yourself, work on developing those relationships, and stop performing. If there's people you think you can trust, stop performing in front of them. See how they react to you. That vulnerability is going to help you connect, but like those friendships are going to help you a lot when you have a safe spot that you don't have to be performing. And then the most interesting, I think you guys have to do more creative work.
Yeah.
Which we talk about creativity with innate women all the time because it's one of our, and their wheel of life is one of our buckets that needs to be filled. And 3s thrive when they have something creative.
So I think part of that is obviously you use a different part of your brain to be creative, whereas like if you're just focused on getting tasks done, that's very left brain. Creativity pushes you into your right brain. And I also think a lot of creative tasks slow you down.
Yeah. Well, also you have to pick something you like. It's not competitive.
Yes. And if you're used to doing things that like are perceived as liked and valuable from other people, to take the time and sit down and do something that like is creative and is going to have like a time investment that you don't like, you're not even going to do it.
If you just sit down, focus, though, figure out what you like. And this is just the task of figuring out what you might like to be creative with is going to be challenging for 3s because it's oftentimes the initial thing will be, well, what will the world perceive me doing creatively that would be good? Or my group. Right. So, yeah. So, like, if you really want to try something that's not valued, you should still try it. You know, the other people don't have to know about this creativity. You just need to be engaging with it. And it has to be something that you chose for yourself. It cannot be what other people are doing and what they chose at all. It has to be 100% for you. And the last thing to do is you need to be of service to people without being recognized for that service. So
Anonymous.
3s. Yes. Well, or just because you want to serve. Serve because you want to serve, not because you have to put a performance on and be seen serving. And I think when we start,
or it looks good on a resume.
Yes, because 3s are so much about their own self-perception that going outside and self-perception of like how people are perceiving me, when they stop caring about that and start recognizing that it's like not about me, it's about the person I'm serving, that they start to rise into their highest self, which is actually going and looking more like a 6.
The qualities of 6s are like team players. Like they are looking to drive everything forward for the betterment of the team. Whereas like an unhealthy 3 would want it to be like, I want to be the star.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be a part of the team.
Or an average 3.
Yeah. Well, I think also they're very sincere as a 6. So one thing about 6s are they're like for the team. And so they're also going to communicate authentically.
Be themselves.
Yes.
Every 6 I know has also been like, I'm really stressed out right now. They're like very honest about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They have no problem with everybody seeing them and whatever they're experiencing.
Whatever state they're in.
Yeah. Because their fears aren't, that kind of stuff that 3s have. So they also become sincere, but they also don't have this need to show off to people. So like people don't have to know that you just hit this giant number, you cross everything off, you've been really busy. When you get to a point of health, you are allowed to still be working towards whatever you're working towards, but you don't have to care if other people see you in all that glory, because you feel just comfortable being you. And you are validated because you're following your own dreams, not because other people are perceiving you positively for following those dreams. Mm-hmm. They also have a lot of self-reflection at this point. So you're going to be really in touch with yourself when you're your health. Like your healthiest version really is like that inner connection. And like, you're not a burden. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to be a hero in anyone else's life. You just get to show up and just be the lovely self that you are, and that's enough.
Yeah. I think threes, I think probably any type, but threes definitely benefit from something that will slow you down so you can reflect and be quiet and listen to your inner thoughts, whether it's journaling, meditating, prayer, something like that. Because I think that we can get wound up on thinking too much in the future, or like the lists we're making in our heads, or the next thing.
They do say meditation and prayer is very good for threes. And threes also, the last thing about going to a 6 is authentic relationships. Because threes are performing.
Authenticity is like the ultimate goal, I think.
It's probably why it became such a buzzword for a while for America, because America is a 3. If this country was to have
more
one.
authentic.
But I think like with 6s, it's when you move into that healthy 6, like one thing 6s are amazing at is relationships. Like that's their like superpower. And so like 3s have that ability in them to really connect with people. But a lot of their connection when they're average or below average is so superficial that even if the other person is perceiving it as real, you internally as a 3 know it's not. And so if you can just get out of your own way and really be authentic with this person and let them see even just a little glimpse of who you really are, and you're going to get that reflection back, they still accept you. It's going to go such a long way in healing you. And then at this point, you can still reach all this level of success, but you're going to have so many wonderful relationships and people around you. And you're not going to be exhausted at the end of the day of performing, because that performance is really what's so hard for 3s. Like you talked about, like constantly performing, it's exhausting and it leads to burnout.
When you can just be yourself all day, it's freeing.
Yeah. What do you think has been the biggest growth for you as a 3?
The biggest growth? I think probably moving more towards authenticity. Not that I felt like I was super fake before, but like really embracing that. I think showing more of like my emotions and my struggles, because actually 3s are very emotional types, but they can look like more thinking types because they don't want to show it.
Yeah, you're a very emotional person. And I mean that in like a really good way. Like, I know you're emotional. It's always like looking bad. It's not. I mean that in like such a great way, because I think it's good to be in tune and like connected. It's just, what if other people could see it?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have deeper connections with other people for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to leave 3s with? 3 people listening?
Oh gosh. You know, I think the biggest message that a 3 needs to hear is you're valuable for exactly who you are. And you don't need to do anything to have that value.
Yeah. I just play that on repeat.
Yeah. An affirmation.
And that is your affirmation. I am valuable.
Yeah.
Just for who I am. Well, thank you so much for joining us at the table. If you think you're a 3 and want to connect, you should take our test first at innatewomen.com and then
Takes
connect
like 10
with
minutes.
us. Yeah, it's short. It's perfect. All right. Thank you.
Bye.